there's a lack of black men in therapy, going to therapy, because there's a lack of black men that are therapists. And I also shared, and I don't know the numbers, but me personally, I know more black men that have actually gone to therapy than black women. Because culturally, from my point of view, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, it's so many times that black women are in spaces of leadership in our community that a lot of them feel like they can't do any wrong. So a lot of them just don't go because they usually have some sort of an outlet, whether it's the church, they're more social than us. So over time, like just listening to men, I've noticed more black men going to therapy than black women actually going and sticking with it. That's what I've noticed. And I may be biased as a black male, but I think the women have more of an outlet. Have you seen that? Where it's more black men, black women, or just, I know we all need to go more than we do culturally, but what have you seen through your years?
So I've seen an increase with black males going, but there's been a steady flow of black women,
Mm-hmm.
and black women have been going for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
The question is not whether black women are going more than black men. The question is who's actually doing the real healing work and sticking it out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's different. We got this trend about therapy and black mental health, so lots of people are sticking their toe in it. But that's different, dude, right? It's like going to college, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody I know that got some schooling, but everybody ain't finished and graduate, right?
Yeah.
And so we often start a lot just to say, hey, we in the game, we've done the work. The question is, can you tell your healing journey by way of a story where at the end you feeling good about your own progress?
Mm-hmm.
So statistically, there's about 4 or 5% of psychologists or mental health professionals as a whole who are black, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of those are women, right? And so oftentimes, you got brothers saying like, I would go if I found someone who could speak to my listening. The women are going, but they're going to other women, right? So they're
Yeah.
sharing in a lot of commonality at the expense of being challenged. And I'm generally
Mm-hmm.
speaking because I know some dope women going to therapy, and I know some dope black women psychologists who really bring it. So these are just general statements. But to answer your
Yeah.
question, Kofa, brothers are going. My wish, hope, and prayer is that they stay long enough and see it as an investment in their overall personal development.
Okay, because it was something, and that's a big fact. You're gonna hear some sound bites tonight. So when you preaching, you're gonna get one of these.
Got it! It's hotter than fish grease.
So,
I ain't shocked. I ain't shocked.
so with that, because I was just talking about that as far as not using therapy as a crutch. Like you said, we'll go, and then what I called it was growing cement shoes. You'll just sit in therapy. And I don't know how many people are actually going to do the work, but I've seen that and heard that from other people too, where it's like, well, I've been in therapy 5 years. At some point, you supposed to be getting some tools to kind of slide off. Like even for myself, I went for about a year and a half, 2 years, pretty consistently. And once I got to that point where I could compartmentalize things, put things in perspective, now I still go, but it's more as like an oil change. I'm going to recalibrate, sort out things recently. So that's the way I use therapy as a tool.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that as far as people going, just like you said, just to go and not doing the work?
Right. So, great question. There's a lot of different facets, right? Different things for different people, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
therapy, right, which can be in the form of psychotherapy, where you really, really going and doing some intense healing work.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's counseling, where you're showing up in a therapy environment, but you and the practitioner are really counseling. Y'all co-creating this nurturing environment so that you can stay safe and supportive moving forward. So regularity, as you said, you can start off doing intense and do once a quarter. I got
Yeah.
people I've been rocking with. They start off heavy like you. They check in with me a few times a year or a quarter. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always on standby, like their doctor and their accountant and
Yeah.
their lawyer, things of that nature. So I often remind brothers that, like you said, Kofa, check in when things are even going well, because one of the things that we suffer from is the blind spots. You could be on the track killing it, and then something come out of nowhere. So get the support, right? Brothers write books, they travel out the country, they got new relationships, they getting older. They stop in like, Doc, let me just see if I'm tripping. Let me hear myself say it out loud, and you let me know if there's some blind spots or something that I'm missing.
Yeah.
That's the healthy relate. That's the counseling piece. We move from the therapeutic aspect to now we're counseling.
Okay.
And that's how we stay healthy, right?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Y'all make sure that y'all have some questions. I'm scrolling through, but this is one quick. Where did it go? Because y'all been in here in the chat cooking, man. Doc, I don't know if you got me up on YouTube as well, but there was a brother in here. There he goes. Found it. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Brother Derek. Shout out to Brother DG. He says, my therapist is a white woman. I was in such bad shape. I took the first person that said they'll help me. And I was saying that it's a lot of times as black men, because we're so used to being, the cultural tropes and traits, man up, get over it. You'll be all right. You a man, ain't you? And it's so many times that we either don't get the help or even know where to go seek the help that, again, this brother DG, he said, my therapist is a white woman. And I wanted to speak to that because of what you spoke about in the TED Talk about your therapist or your counselor being culturally competent. So I'll let you, address that. It was just something interesting to me because it stood out to me because, like I said, sometimes we're flailing and that first hand to reach out and pull us back out the water we'll grab onto.
Yeah. So, and that's okay, right? I related Kofa to if you're in an emergency, you go to the emergency room, you take the first physician available, right? Right? You don't be in there with a gunshot wound to the neck talking about, give me a black surgeon or not, right?
Yeah.
So let's be clear, right? I'd rather you jump in there and get the help you need just to get it going. Because what I know from being on this planet 52 years, contrast brings clarity. Sometimes you got to check out what you don't want so you can be clear about what you do want and need. So for the brother, I commend you, right? Now, the question becomes the staying, right? Is it serving you, right? I'm not, I'm black solidarity to the fullest, let's be clear. But I'm also open enough to know that find your person. Your number one determining factor in terms of your healing journey is finding your person, right? Finding your person. There's some black folks, right, that ain't culturally competent, depending on what culture they came up. Let's be clear. Yeah. So generally speaking, right, they're just not. So to the brother that said, I just jumped in the first one to help me. Yeah, it sounds like you needed intense help, and that's good. The question is, when you knew it wasn't working for you, did you make some movements? One of the things that people don't know, Coach, and I'll turn it back over in a second, is you have a right to speak up for yourself. Like, you have a right to challenge the therapist in the spirit of love. Like, am I missing something? And give them an opportunity. The best psychologists I know always refer out. Like, I got a colleague of mine. She like, I got a brother. I got to refer him to you. So that's when it becomes your client comes to you like, this ain't working for me. Cool, I got somebody else.
Yeah. And of course, you get one of these.
Got it! Hotter than fish grease. Knocks down another 3 ball. This guy is hotter than fish grease here.
I love that.
Look, yeah, man.